Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Now I am posting this to both channels, and before I get into this, I do want to share the video that I got the inspiration for this video for. So once I show that, then I will get into my portion.
Can't stand AI crochet patterns, and they're only getting worse. Follow for more stuff like this. Some AI crochet patterns are now posting videos like this that are AI of them pretending to touch the pattern and do stuff. But like, look at this. It's still very obviously AI. Look at this hedgehog. It looks like they're actually crocheting, but if you look at it up close, it is glitching tremendously. And it just infuriates me that this is where we are, that people are still in the comments of these obviously AI videos being like, pattern please, I want the pattern. People are stealing your information. I just can't deal. Are you as mad as I am about this? Comment below.
That is the inspiration that I got for this video. This video is inspired by that video because I feel like we need to talk about it, and we need to seriously talk about it, because I feel like AI is being, not just I feel like, it is being viewed as like the next big thing. I'm gonna put my hair down because the clip is a little too tight right now, but it's being viewed as like the next big thing, when really there are a lot of dangerous caveats to this. And in this video, I'm not saying it can't be useful, but we can't use it until we get rid of the dangerous caveats and like the impact to the environment. And AI does not belong in art spaces. Like I said, AI, I think there are times and places where AI can be useful, but it's not in art spaces, it's not in research spaces, it's not in spaces that require human ingenuity and human creativity. And again, like I said, we should not be using AI until we kind of figure out how to use AI without it negatively impacting our environment, which is what it's doing right now. And we also have to figure out how to use it without impacting the way humans, one, interact with their environment, two, interact with each other, and three, interact with not just like the natural environment, but like personal environments, work, social, political, etc. So that's my opinion. Again, it can't be useful, but we should not be using it until we have it all figured out, which we do not right now. So to kind of start off, I'm going to move you over to the side real quick. So just to kind of go over the different types of other AI, I do have a lot of links down below in the description for you to look into, and you can just do your own research about AI. But I do have a lot of links you can reference. I'm going to reference two of them. One of them is the Microsoft link, Generative AI versus Other AI Types. So there's predictive AI, and then there's generative AI. Predictive AI is where I think it'd be okay to use it, because it's sort of already been used for a while, or that type of predictive technology, if you look at weather patterns. So that's where I'm like, okay, that won't be as much of an issue, again, as long as we can figure out how to use it without impacting the environment and impacting our, why am I blanking on the right term for it, our critical thinking skills. So going over generative AI versus others, you can look at, so generative AI uses deep learning, a sophisticated form of machine learning that handles complex tasks and large data sets to create new content in response to simple natural language prompts. Like a chef who cooks unique dishes, a musician who composes songs, or an author who writes stories, generative AI is creative and innovative. This is where I don't agree with Microsoft statement, because it's not creative, because it's basically when you're approaching generative AI, especially if you look at like character AI or Chai. I think there's a new one that's been coming out lately, or that I've seen ads for. It's not creating something. You're not creating something by having bot chats with AI bot characters, because it's basically stealing that character. Like, you're basically stealing the information of that character, the AI platform is, and then it's basically stealing from a bunch of different fan fictions and stories and plots. That it's like, it's not creative, it's stealing, and stealing is not creativity. So that's basically what generative AI is. And then predictive AI is so predictive AI forecasts outcomes based on an analysis of historical data, and can analyze past behaviors, detect patterns, and predict future outcomes with high accuracy. So it's foundational in finance, healthcare, manufacturing, and marketing. Traditional AI is most widely used in industries for repetitive tasks where efficiency and precision are crucial. So that's where I'm just like, I can understand the concept behind AI, but at the same time, it's like, you can't be using AI to replace humans. And you can't use AI to replace, like I said, human ingenuity, human creativity, human critical thinking. And then conversational AI powers chatbots and virtual assistants. Okay, so I did have to step away for a moment, but I'm back. That's all I'm going to say for the Microsoft link. Just because, again, I don't agree with everything that's phrased in that link, but I do think it's helpful, useful in understanding the differences between different AI types. So the other link I'm going to look at is the Reddit link, which I think is the last link. Yeah, it's the last link, where it was under the r/AI wars thread from about 2 years ago. And the question was, is generative AI impact on the environment really so devastating? It's a moral question that it's really bothering me. Okay, so this is what this person is saying. It's true that single-handedly one of the most polluting and devastating technology. Is it really? Okay, some of the grammar isn't 100%, but not a big issue. Is it true that it's single-handedly one of the most polluting and devastating technologies out there? That one generative image is tantamount to burning an acre of the Amazon. That one generative image is tantamount to burning an acre of the Amazon rainforest. Edit. Thank you all for all of the answers. For those asking if the post was a joke or is anti. Anti-AI. No, I'm not anti-AI, but I listened to both sides of the debate and was curious about the environmental impact. So, like I said at the beginning, or kind of close to the beginning, I do think AI can be useful in some senses, but like I said, I do think we need to consider the impacts and not use it as much. Absolutely not using generative AI, but not using AI in general, like the general term of AI, the umbrella term, not using AI until we can figure out how to best use it with, like I've said, without erasing the humanness of a lot of the things that we have created. Again, absolutely not using generative AI. But maybe like other forms of AI, once impacts are as minimized as possible, and once we have protections in place for our environment and for human ingenuity and creativity, maybe AI can help out with some things. Because if you look at like something like Grammarly, which is a form of AI, that's useful, and that can be very useful for people who have a little bit of a harder time with grammar, or have a little bit of a harder time with sentence structure, or spelling and maybe English, or maybe they're typing in a language that isn't their first language, and that can kind of help out. So in that sense, in helping correct certain aspects, I think it can be helpful. Do I think it should be the primary force behind research and creativity and ingenuity? Like I said, no. Excuse me, I'm a little bit gassy right now. Oop, wrong thing. But also, it can be useful. And if you look at like other things like language is inherently human. So in that sense, AI cannot, like I said, AI can be used if it's not your first language and you're trying to write something. It can be used to help touch up whatever you're writing if it needs to sound more professional, or more cleaned up. But AI cannot take the place of language learning because that is inherently human. Which is why I stopped Duolingo when they made the announcement that they were going to implement AI and basically remove all their human workers. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. And overall, like I've said a few times now, I think it can be useful, but it can't be at the cost of our natural environment of nature, and it can't be at the cost of human creativity and ingenuity, like I've said. So, looking at some of the answers, this is one of the most annoying arguments for me. It is true that it has a negative environmental impact. It is true that other things we do are far, far worse. Yes, like I do. It is also true that other people are doing something that doesn't justify you doing it. The environment is like a resource. We are consuming. The environment is like a resource we are consuming like locusts. It won't last forever at this current rate. It's a valid criticism of AI. However, shutting AI down to save the environment is like firing a water pistol at a house fire. The irony being that if used properly, AI might be able to assist us in cleaning up our act. So, so there's a couple comments where some are trying to argue that it doesn't damage the environment, or that it's not as bad as humans, which, again, double-edged argument, because AI has been going on for, over the course of human history, a relatively short amount of time. Over the course of Earth's history, an even shorter amount of time. And if you look at like the timeline, on the one hand, it is true that humans have done more damage than AI, but AI is a human generated thing, a human creation, and if we're going at the speed in which we are going, it is going to do far more damage. Humans are, at the end of the day, in the long run, humans are going to do more damage than AI because humans have been around longer than AI. However, AI is adding to the human damage to the environment because AI is a creation of humans. So it's not necessarily one is doing more damage than the other. It's just that they're both doing damage because they're both human creations. So that's why I'm just like, again, it's like I do think it's good to look at every side of the argument, but it's a situation where it's like, if you look at comparatively in how long certain things have been around and the speed at which it is damaging and polluting the environment, then yes, AI is very damaging to our environment and will be exponentially more damaging as time goes on if we don't find a solution to this. And okay, so one person commented in response to one of the other comments: for anyone in the future reading this guy's misleadingly representing most of the resources, especially the very first source where he claims AI is significantly less pollutive compared to humans. If you're looking for the broader context, I suggest highly actually reading these studies, or you can DM so that person deleted their account, but you might be able to respond to one of the other comments saying like, hey, if you have it, whatever they're talking about, like their stuff. So it's like, yeah, you need to be like looking into this stuff, because again, it's not necessarily about who's done what the most damage at a certain point in time, because like the comment said, like, this is a very the earth is a resource. It's not like a resource, it is a resource, and we are basically like locusts, and it won't last forever. And that's why AI is so damaging to our environment, because in the time that it's been around, especially generative AI, in the time it's been around, it has done so much damage to our environment already. And again, like, I'm not going to rehash a lot of the studies, but again, look it up. Do your research. I'm not gonna rehash a lot of the studies. But basically, like, if you look at how long humans have been around, yes, humans have done a lot of polluting and pollution damage to the earth over the course. And if you look at timelines like that, like I've said, it does seem like humans have done more damage than AI. But it's not necessarily that these two are exclusive things polluting the earth. They're mutual. AI is a human creation that is polluting the earth. So that it's still humans polluting the earth. Now they just have another form of polluting the earth and damaging the environment. So, yeah, like, this Reddit thread, it's not my favorite, but I wanted to link it kind of to be like, hey, like, there are two sides to every argument. So, yeah. So that's where I'm going to stop with, like, looking at the links. But looking at the crochet side of it, and human creativity and ingenuity and the humanness to a lot of this stuff. The humanist arts. Now, you can make the argument that, oh, books do, like, how many books are published in a year, how many of those are printed, how many of them are hardback, paperback, and then all of the other conversations you can have about the book publishing industry and exclusive editions and consumerist culture. So it's like, okay, those take trees. And that's something I like about a book. My sister recently, I'm blanking on what the exact company is, but it's the Art of Frankenstein from Guillermo del Toro. And with the specific publishing house that her book specifically is from, it was saying something along the lines for like for every book that is purchased, we'll plant 2 trees for. It was either we'll plant 2 trees for every book that's purchased, or we'll plant for every book that's purchased. We'll plant 2 trees for the amount of trees it took to use. So if it took like 2 trees to use, they'll plant 4 trees. I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of those two. So it's like, I feel like there's a lot of companies out there who are trying to combat this. Book of the month, they don't do this all the time, but for March, I got my Lolly selection, and with the Lolly selection, it was Wild Dark. The one I did was a Lolly one of the Wild Dark Sugar, and it came with this. You can't really see it very well. So it came with this. Mark the moment you see. Okay, and then under this, I still keep it on because I don't want to lose this. Grow. So it's basically like a plant me thing. So it tells you how to grow it. So there's a lot of companies trying to combat this. And, excuse me, there are a lot of companies out there, not just books, but fashion, makeup. There's a lot of companies that contribute to pollution, and there's a lot of companies that are trying to combat it. in looking at like the creative side, it takes a brain to think of what to write, to think of what to crochet. Like, a good example, I have it right here actually. I set it aside. But I've been doing my temperature blanket. Oh no. Did I lose? Okay, no I didn't. So I've been working on my temperature blanket. This is what I have so far, at least for the different months. So far we're in March right now. But like, temperature blankets are a pretty common thing. I personally didn't want my temperature blanket to be like a lot of the others, so I chose colors I actually liked to go into this. This is kind of like a dusty pink, this top one right here. It's like a dusty pink. So it's like I wanted colors I actually liked. So that's what I did. I wasn't going with the usual like rainbow color. Like I did. Where's it's, I have it. That's just it. So like I did the rainbow, but I did colors that I personally actually liked. So I did shades of colors that I actually liked and that I thought would make a nice blanket. So it's like, it takes a mind to be like, okay, like, how can I make this for me? How can I make this? And like, writers like that, crochet artists, knitting artists, like fiber artists, artists in general, like whether you use paint, crayon, fiber, sewing, like it's like, okay, how can I make this for me? How can I make this for someone I love? What colors can I do? What stories can I do? What characters can I do? So looking at it through the lens of crochet, this is where it really bothers me. I'll show a picture of a couple of examples right now. So this is where, like I said, it really bothers me because it's like, part of crochet is that it like a lot of the AI crochet, a real obvious tell is either there's a mistake, like a really weird mistake that's not obvious from the get-go, but there's a weird mistake, or it looks too perfect, or both. So those for me are like the biggest tells with AI fiber crafts, so AI crochet, AI knitting. It's like I said, it's like uncanny valley, almost too perfect, but something missing or something weirdly incorrect. And part of crochet, I like to say ooh geez, my words are all over the place right now, but I like to adhere to the Irish knitting crafting thing, where crochet, knitting, crafting, where you leave a mistake in your works so your soul can escape. I really like that. But usually crochet, knitting, it's not always going to look perfect. Some of it may look amazing, but as a crochet artist, it's like you notice when there's a little detail missing. Like with this is I have like 2 examples right now. I don't want to lose this one. So I don't know how this happened. So right here, you can see there's a little bump, a little extra steps. You can sort of see that. I don't know how that happened. And then a more obvious mistake that not many people may notice is something I've been doing with my temperature blanket is up here as like great examples. So the bottom row, I do like 2 rows for each color. So the bottom 2 are the average. So I do a row of half double crochets and then a row of single crochets, and then that way I can see the color a little bit more too. So whatever the bottom row is the average low for that week. Whatever the top row is the average high. So looking at like this end, and this is all for March. So this was average low, average high for the first week. Average low, average high for the second week. Average low, average high for the third week. And I'm still working on this, which is why it's not as thick. So that's usually how I do it. So average low, average high, average low, average high, average low, average high. Now, look at this. This is the more obvious mistake. So basically, this is in February. And okay, so week 1, week 2. So this was going to be for week 3. I switched the colors around. Once I finished this week, where the purple is, I immediately grabbed this like dusty pink and started going, even though this was the color for the high, the average high for that week. So like I was already at a point where I couldn't backtrack because I think I was already starting the second row for it. I was already starting the second row for this color. So it's like, in my experience, both for my own projects and just looking around in general, there's always going to be a little slight mistake in most craft projects. Obvious or not, most of the time it will mainly only be obvious to the person who made it. Like I mentioned, where's that thing? This one, like I said. Again, I don't know, I think I might have like pulled out too much yarn, or like some of it started twisting off. But if I didn't point that out, that's not something that anyone would really notice. So this, people might notice a little bit more. But again, it's like, there's so much going on, and by the time this blanket is finished, like that's going to be irrelevant. So there's, like I said, usually in my experience, there's a very, very slight mistake. Very slight mistake. Like the first, let me go grab my octopus real quick. I just want to fold this up and kind of make it nice and tidy. So usually there's a slight mistake. The first octopus, I have an octopus pattern from Humble Child Co. Okay, so this is one that I made. I can never really get the eyes right, like where the eyes go. I can't get that part right all the time. And then I have a little bit of a hard time with the tentacles. You can see here, where's a good example? I never really have an super easy time with the tentacles. See this? Okay, where's a better example? Along this guy. Or gal. Okay, so here, this is a better example. This one's a better example. You can see it's kind of all stretched out on this side. I just stick my thumb through it. You can see the end for the under part of the tentacle. And usually, like with this one, usually the bulbs for the suckers for the undersides are very close to the main body. Whereas with this one, it's all the way up here, versus there's like 3 or 4 finger widths. So it's like I can never really get the eyes right. You can see there's a little mix up. You can see a little mix up right there. So it's like in the first octopus that I did using this pattern, I did for the upper part of the tentacle, so the multicolored part, I did all half double crochets instead of one row of half double crochets, and then the other row is single crochets. So it's like there's going to be some slight mistake or personalization to the patterns and to what you create, and it's all going to be slightly different. No two things are going to be the same, and it also depends on the kind of yarn you use. So just as another little example, I'm making a Winnie the Pooh for my friend for her. It was supposed to be for her birthday, but it's ending up as Christmas now. So I haven't added stuffing to these because I haven't gotten the stuffing yet. The polyfill. So this, I had the tag. What's the size of this yarn? So this is a size 6 super bulky yarn. And this is Hometown Lion Bread yarn. So there's this. So this is just your example. And then there's this. The same exact pattern. Same exact pattern. But because I use 2 different yarns and 2 different sizes of yarns, 2 completely different looks. And 2 completely different like vibes almost. I need to untangle this now. I love it. I have this one set aside because again I'm trying to finish this one. But again, 2 different two very different variations for one pattern. It's the same pattern with the same amount of stitches, the same amount of rounds, but because it's two very different yarns, it's two very different results. And the reason why I bring that up is because people are kind of like yarn, different yarn sizes, different colors, and different styles and techniques. And because of that, you're going to have different results. And that's what's part of the human ingenuity and human creativity. And maybe for a temperature blanket, you like the more traditional colors for a temperature blanket. I didn't. And then I'm also learning how to do, skein. I'm also learning how to do Tunisian crochet. This is what I have. This is what I'm doing with Hilda's scarf from the shop Hilda. And, you know, people might do it differently than what I'm doing, but this is the way I'm doing it. And the next person who loves Hilda and is making Hilda's scarf might do it differently than I'm doing. I wanted to try to do Tunisian crochet, and Hilda's scarf seemed the perfect project for that. So it's like, that's part of human ingenuity, and that's why I wanted to look at this through the lens, look at AI through the lens of crochet and other similar fiber crafts, because it is so inherently human. Because things like, what I've noticed with AI is that a lot of times it'll be very, very similar, if not exactly the same. Them showing like different versions of a pattern or a project, it'll be like very much the same. Where a lot of the times when pattern creators, when pattern creators create a pattern and they do a tester call, most of the time, however many testers they end up choosing, the testers will have something that looks basically the same. You know it's all the same thing. You know it's all a Winnie the Pooh, or you all know it's all the same style of scarf or pattern. But depending on the yarn that they choose, the hook that they choose, like the colors, it could look vastly different. Like, I'm gonna stop showing stuff, but it's like that's where the issues with AI are. Aside from the environmental impact, it takes out the human creativity and ingenuity that goes behind so much stuff and so many things that are now in our world. It's because of human ingenuity. It's not because of AI. And like I said, AI can be a very useful tool, but we need to, like I've said, we need to learn how to use AI and utilize AI without harming our environment and without harming nature and without harming human ingenuity, critical thinking, and creativity. So because at this point I'll probably be a broken record, I'm going to end this video here. If you made it this far, let me know what you think of this argument. And it is okay to disagree. I just ask that you be civil. Again, if you made it this far in the video, what are your thoughts down below? Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.